and welcome to a new episode of In Other Words with Danielle and Zara.
This is a podcast where we talk about a wide variety of different subjects, from fashion advice to travel tips. So in other words, we talk about all the things.
Okay, so today our local brand isn't necessarily a brand, but since it is our last episode for a while, I thought it would be super important, and I really want to encourage you guys to do this. So if you log on to odf.org.za, that is the Organ Donation Foundation.
Organ donation.
And it's so easy to sign up to be an organ donor. You literally just enter your details, they give you a phone call, you talk and confirm your information, and then you are officially an organ donor.
Wow.
Which means that when you die, instead of just being buried in the ground or cremated, you get your organs to help other people live.
Wow.
So I really want to
so
encourage
cool.
you to do that. I spoke to them and they said they actually have like very few donors compared to the amount of people who need
Yeah. No, I'm going to sign up ASAP.
So yes, Danielle.
Luckily I haven't died yet, so
Luckily.
I have time.
Yes. So please everyone go do that.
Cool. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about self-love and the self-love.
Love yourself.
Exactly, the self-love movement.
Yes.
So I'll just start with describing the self-love movement.
You have a fancy
And it's really,
definition.
it's really very self-explanatory.
What?
I know, can you believe it? But basically it is a movement about putting your own happiness and your own well-being first.
Ah,
Exactly.
never would have guessed.
I know.
Cool. So I think the reason why we wanted to talk about it is it's very much become, it's a movement, but it's a huge trend.
Big trend, yeah.
Everyone knows about self-love, and it's a hashtag, and yes, it's become very prevalent in our society. And I think we wanted to talk about finding the healthy medium, because it can be very unhealthy.
Yes.
And it can also be like people just neglect themselves completely. So do you want to chat a little bit about how you've viewed self-love?
Yeah, so I wouldn't, just with my own journey with self-love, I feel like I'm not necessarily like a grown-up hating myself or anything like that, but you kind of, I don't know, I feel like I've just grown up doing my thing, doing whatever.
Yes.
The way I view the self-love movement, I think overall I support the message.
Yes.
I do believe that it's important to love yourself, and I think especially in a society where you kind of,
There's a lot of hate.
And especially like if you just think about certain magazines or like even advertising, it very much targets like insecurities and your own self-hatred to get you to buy certain products or whatever.
Very true.
Or even like just ways of viewing yourself, like you see pictures like of celebrities, and that people can be criticizing celebrities like, she has wrinkles and she has gray hair and she looks so fat, but she's not really fat.
Yes.
And you kind of grow up seeing all that kind of stuff, and it's like, wow, I feel terrible.
Yes, exactly.
And I feel like it's also quite common to almost feel obliged all the time to just always do things for people. 100%. And maybe if you're not a natural people pleaser, like I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a people pleaser, but you do feel obliged. Like when someone asks you to do something, you kind of like, oh, well, okay, I'll do it.
Yes.
I'll do it, it's fine, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't really want to do it. And I feel like the self-love movement is good at almost taking those aspects away.
Yes.
And saying like you don't have to do things that you don't want to do.
Boundaries are important.
Yeah, and you're allowed to put your own happiness first sometimes, but obviously there's a balance.
Yes.
So yeah,
I think something that I read a quote saying true self-love isn't saying like me first, but me too.
Yes.
In other words, recognizing that you are a person, and that as much as because most people believe that like everyone has value, and like we encourage people to take care of themselves, we take care of other people, but often at the expense of like our own care. And so it's kind of just saying like include yourself in the people that you care for.
Yes.
And I think for me, I have definitely gone through quite a journey in terms of just this idea of self-love, because I'm naturally a perfectionist. So like from a young age, if I was not perfect, like I was terrible. Like there was no like medium, you know. And something that we were actually talking about just before we recorded this is we were saying that like don't focus on your weaknesses when you have strengths, and like pursue those things.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about weaknesses now in terms of like being mean and like lying and stuff. I mean like skills and just like things,
talents,
tangible things. Yes. And it's like often like in school, like if you're struggling with like your maths, but like so now you spend all your time just trying to be good at maths, the subjects you're actually good at, the subjects you're actually good at, you end up neglecting. It's just like it's a horrible cycle. So it's like I think recognizing that you are unique and that you have things that you are good at, and it's okay to like recognize that, and like it's okay, like you see yourself like as everyone else sees you, because I think we struggle with that.
So true. We kind of focus only on like, because we know like every part of ourselves almost. I mean, not necessarily every part, but we know like what we think, and we criticize ourselves literally all the time, like I'm such a bad person and I'm so lazy and I'm da-da-da-da-da. Other people don't see you like that. No. Like unless you really suck, but I can promise you it's very, very likely that people see you as a mostly good person.
So I have self-love mantras.
Oh, okay.
Yes. These are not mine.
No.
I specifically, I went to Pinterest because I didn't want to like single out a person. And the nice thing about Pinterest is that
you don't know who
it's not quotes or like, so I just didn't want to come across as like
criticizing.
Because I don't hate anyone. Okay. So I thought we could go through them and kind of chat about our thoughts regarding like this mantra. Okay. So the first one is choose to stop apologizing for being me.
For being me or being mean?
Me. In other words, don't apologize for who you are. Thoughts.
Okay, so I think, I was actually saying to Devin the other day, I think people almost apologize too much.
I do.
I'm
just like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Like, stop apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think almost people kind of expect you to apologize all the time. And I think apologizing is good. It's good to recognize, first of all, like if you've hurt someone, then you probably should apologize. That's something I struggle with. If I don't, it doesn't really happen a lot because I'm not a very confrontational person at all. Like I don't really just say mean things. But like if someone says to me that I've hurt their feelings, and for me, I feel like, no, you're being dumb. It'll be very difficult.
No, I'm joking.
It'll be very difficult for me to apologize. But obviously that's just something that you have to work on. So I think, once again, apologizing is important, but also don't just apologize all the time, because then it almost just loses its meaning.
100%.
You know, if you just say sorry all the time for everything, like, oh, I'm sorry that I look like this. Okay, so why are you apologizing?
Like, apologizing for things that you actually can't change. Like, or you're not responsible for.
Exactly.
Is strange. And what I've always found about I'm sorry is, like, what does that mean? Like, there's the apology, I'm sorry, but then there's also like, I'm sorry for your loss. It's just that whole word. It's just like confusing to me.
I know, and it can be used in so many like weird ways as well. Someone says, I'm feeling really down. Like, oh, sorry about that. Like, why am I apologizing? I didn't even do anything.
But I think like self-forgiveness is very important. Not to the extent where often in especially in Christian circles, we say that it's very important that you don't take God's grace for granted. So it's like, oh, I'll just do whatever I want because God will forgive me. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you also get to a point where, like, I know for me, there are certain things that I've done in my life where it's like, I feel so bad about it, but it's like I brought it before the Lord, and I know that like I'm forgiven, and I'm human, and I make mistakes, and the Lord has forgiven me, but I can't forgive myself, which is a wild concept. Like, if the God who is perfect has forgiven you, how can you not forgive yourself?
No, exactly.
If you genuinely really hurt someone and they've reached a point where they've forgiven you, like,
you can forgive yourself.
You can forgive yourself.
And it's difficult because like you are your own worst critic. But I just think that's something that we all have to work on mentally, and you know, like within our hearts as well. Like just thinking, okay, like you know, who's actually making me feel bad about this? Because I feel like especially as a Christian, you know, like we know that the devil also, like those kinds of,
will bring up those feelings,
exactly,
make you feel as guilty as
and
possible,
unworthy and all that, and feel like you're just not good enough. And the reality is that that's just not true. And I just think it's a constant journey almost of self-forgiveness and all that kind of stuff, but in like a not so deep sense, you know, don't apologize for like looking bad, don't apologize for, I don't know, silly, futile things. If you hurt someone's feelings, then you probably should apologize. And just be sensitive. I think it's so important to actually listen to people. And I think, weird enough, I think that's a form of self-love, you know, like holding yourself accountable and also just chatting to people. You know?
Something we did in seminary is, like, once a year they'd make you go and speak to people close to you and ask your blind spots. So the things that you do, or you know, that you maybe don't realize you're doing, but that isn't that great. And it was also super helpful. And what's nice about talking to people close to you is you know that it's coming from a well-meaning place,
and not just like blatant criticism.
So I would suggest that you do that every now and then. But another thing that hits really hard with me in terms of like apologizing, as I think for a long time, and I've noticed this just growing up, like I think women often apologize for taking up space, because you're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to, like,
you know. But for me, for the longest time, it was very hard for me to accept the fact that I'm a very charismatic, outgoing person, because I kind of got into this mindset of the people who are quiet and shy are the people who are humble, and the people who don't speak up are the people that are like wiser in a sense. Whereas like, so for often I would go into a meeting, I would share my feelings, and I'd walk out and be like, shoot, I shouldn't have said that. And for the longest time I was just like, I wish I was less outgoing. But the reality is that's my personality, and I'm well-meaning, and I need to stop apologizing for being loud and saying what I feel the need to say. Obviously I need to be so careful with my words, but like, I don't know, it's who I am, you know. I'm most comfortable when I'm being myself.
And that's a good thing.
Okay,
cool. Next one.
The next mantra: I deserve all that is good.
I think we'd all like to think that we do. But I think things that happen, I think things that happen to us, like maybe it's like it's for a reason, but I feel like it's also not because, oh, you're a good person, therefore here we are, you get all the good things. Ideally that would be wonderful. Like all the good people get the good things, but we just know that's not true.
And we also just like Brian, I feel like I speak about him every podcast. My good friend Brian, like just last night he was talking about like who defines good and what is good, and like if God defines something as good, but I don't necessarily see that as good, it's like, it's a very strange
really
thing.
Good then.
Just the idea of like deserving something, it's like who determines like what someone good. Deserves, and who determines what's good, like,
and who determines who is good.
Exactly, because the reality is we're all human, and we're all pretty messed up in some shape or form.
But I think we'd all like to think that we're good people.
I
was watching this YouTube video the other day, and it was like a guy commenting on, they were watching this show, it's called A Moment of Truth or something like that. And basically what happens, sorry, this is, but it'll illustrate a point.
I'm ready.
So basically what happens in the show is that like the person has to go on, they have to take a lie detector test, they have to answer all like the questions truthfully, obviously, and then they go in front of like a whole audience and all their family, and then they have to answer all those questions the same way, but it's like super personal, like intense questions.
What's it called? Moment of Truth?
Something like that.
I feel like this sounds familiar years ago, but it wasn't called that.
It might be called something different. I could literally be lying right now. But
isn't it Would I Lie to You?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a different thing.
That's a song.
Would I lie? Okay,
it's
anyway.
Beautiful.
I know.
Don't sing too much of it. We'll have to pay for the rights.
True. So basically this girl, she was answering these questions, and it starts off really like, you know,
do you like ponies?
Yeah, like superficial. Name? And then it gets into like, were you in love with someone else on your wedding day?
Oh my gosh.
And like it turns out like she cheats on her husband and all that. And the last question was, do you think you're a good person? And she was like, yeah, I think I'm a good person. And like she just admitted to all of these terrible things, and I'm like, wow, that just goes to show.
Yeah, we are really not good like judges ourselves sometimes.
No.
Oh, shame.
Yeah, so that was my story.
Good job. No, I also like, I think again, like, instead of walking around saying I deserve good, because we are so is it entitled? Like we feel like we're entitled to the world.
Yes.
Rather just pursue good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. I think
you get me.
I think often it's so easy just to say things like, oh, I'm a good person. And like, I don't know if this really illustrates the point at all, but often on Instagram, you know, people will share like activism things and all that, you know, lovely infographics explaining things, and it's like, okay, cool, I've done all my good for the day. And it's like, okay, what are you actually doing? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you think you're such a good person for sharing a picture on Instagram. Yes. And I think it's great to share awareness, but let's not pretend now that you're like an activist. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
It's someone actually commented on one of our videos saying,
actions are louder than words.
Yes, and I mean, we can't really act on a podcast,
but our new name is in other actions.
Yeah, so not in other words. No. Okay, the next point. I radiate the word radiate. Okay, I radiate confidence, self-respect, and inner harmony.
Yeah, I think if you do, that's really cool. Good for you. But if you don't, then you're just lying to yourself. I'm sorry.
I feel like there's this, you know, fake it till you make it.
Yes.
And I think to a certain extent that can be helpful. So like if you aren't, let's just say you have stage fright, just pretend like you don't, and hopefully at some point you'll get comfortable on the stage. But I think if you're walking around saying I'm at peace, but you're really actually not at peace, it's not like helpful. So I think we've spoken about this in previous episodes, but it's important that you're talking well to yourself, but also
working towards those things that you're talking about.
That's the thing. You can't just say like,
I am at inner peace, and then you just like stressing all the time.
Yes, or I am so cool, but
you're
not
actually.
cool.
Yeah, those things. I think when it comes to just saying affirmations, or is it mantras or mantras?
I say mantra, but that could be American. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, I think it's all good and well to kind of say those things to yourself, like provided that you're not completely fooling yourself. But if you're not actually working towards those things, you know, because actions are louder than words. You know that, yeah.
I didn't know.
Then like it's not actually going to get you anywhere. And once again, I think it's great to have a positive mindset.
100%.
And I think affirmations can kind of help in that way, but yeah, it really depends on the affirmation. Like for me, like for example, for me saying I have all the time that I need, it's a bit different from me saying I'm working so hard and then I'm not actually working so hard.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
Cool.
Okay, the next one is my voice is valuable and my opinion matters.
Yeah, I mean that's like a loaded one for me, because I think it's good to think that you do matter, but also you should acknowledge that like you're not the most important person in the whole world. And like it might sound rich from us coming from like having a podcast where we literally speak about our opinions, but we won't go around and say, oh, it's so important, everyone must listen to our podcast because our opinions are so important.
I mean, everyone should listen to our podcast,
but just for fun, for the vibes.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me 100%, like the things you have to say they matter. But I also think it's like it matters because it's part of showing people who you are, and I think that it's important that you have people in your life who know you. Like I was saying yesterday to someone, like we were born to be in community, like no one was born to live on an island by themselves. And so 100% you'll say that like your voice and your opinion is valuable. I also think it's so like talking is so important. That's why we have a podcast. Just because I think it's so important that you talk to people and you also listen. And I think having an opinion is good, because if you don't know what you stand for,
then you'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
What do you fall for?
So, but in the same breath, recognizing that your opinion is an opinion.
Yes.
And not
like
the cold hard truth.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, no one is completely objective.
No one.
Like,
you might think that you're,
yes,
but most things are subjective.
yes. This whole idea of my truth,
Yeah.
it's your opinion.
Yes.
But truth is like the truth, and
yes.
in many circumstances,
Yeah. Like, in a sense, it is your truth. Like, it's your truth that you believe that.
But you can't say it's the
the
truth
truth.
unless you know it's the truth.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yes.
But yeah, like, you do matter, and your thoughts and your opinions do matter. But like, I think just don't parade around as if you are, you know, all knowing and yeah, like everything that you say is just, you know, honey and gold and all that kind of stuff.
Honey and gold.
Exactly.
Okay. The next mantra is, I love my body and all it does for me.
Amen, sister. You should love your body.
Yes.
And we do have an episode on body
And we would
image.
really like for you
So
to go and give that a
One thing that we
listen.
didn't speak about in that episode is it's called body neutrality.
Yes.
And I think that's when you don't like value your body for the way it looks. And I think this is something that can be quite valuable because you recognize that, oh, I don't really like the way that my legs look, but I can walk, you know, they carry me.
Yeah.
So like, just don't focus so much on like outward appearances and rather focus on, oh, I'm functioning.
Yes.
And I feel like that's
I
a
got
really
up this
important
morning.
yeah. And that's good. Like, I don't think we'll ever truly be 100% happy in our own bodies because we're really always fed this narrative that we shouldn't be and you should look a certain way. And it's really difficult not to think like that, especially like when we're living in a globalized society, social media, all that kind of stuff. I think, so just start thinking about all the things that your body does for you.
Yes.
And even if you don't have a perfect body,
what is a perfect
you're
body
still living.
even?
Exactly.
I think for me, like, I think that mothers, like, I'm in awe of just the way that a woman's body works. And like,
it's amazing.
I think a lot of people, like, I've even thought of this, and I don't even know if I want to have children, but the idea of like, what will that do to my body?
I know.
Not that I have this great body, but it's like, it's a complete like shift, you know?
Yeah, your body's not your own anymore.
Yeah. But the fact that like you birthed another human being and your body was able to do that is incredible. If you have had a baby ever,
you should go love yourself right now.
Like, that is incredible. Like, recognize the fact that you carried another human.
No, exactly.
And you gave birth to that human, and that is incredible. For me, like, that's always like when a baby's born, I'm like, okay, God is real.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like,
it
I
really
just
is
needed
amazing.
a reminder. Like, it is amazing.
But yeah, I think, you know, our bodies function in like incredibly intricate ways.
Yes.
So yeah, if you really can't look at your body like just from a superficial stance and think to yourself like, oh, I love my body, then don't think of it that way. Like, just think, okay, I can breathe, I can walk, I can do whatever.
Which is incredible.
And that's great. Good for you.
But go listen to our body image episode.
Yes.
Okay. I choose to be grateful for all that I have.
And you should. You
Yes.
should always be grateful.
I don't think there's anything about this that I disagree with.
No, me neither.
I think it's easier to quote unquote love your life if you recognize how privileged you are. And so, yes, 100% people are like, write gratitude lists, and it sounds cliche, but like,
It's good.
for real.
Yeah.
Like, just remember
Yeah.
what, like, how much good there is. Like, the other night I was lying in bed listening to Ben Platt.
Oh, Ben Platt.
Ben. He's just Ben to us now.
Ben.
It's like my bestie Ben. And I was listening to his voice and I was like, wow. Music and what a privilege. That like I can hear a beautiful melody and it changes me.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Music is incredible though.
I
Dang.
agree.
That's a way of self-love. Just listening to
For
good
real.
music. You got to do it.
Exactly. Okay. I consciously release the past and live only in the present.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like the overall message is good. It's not healthy to live in the past.
No.
Like you were saying, I mean, there's things that you can't really forgive yourself for, and there's
the reality is that you can't do anything about it anymore.
There's literally nothing you can do about it. And
Yeah.
if you just spend all your time thinking about your regrets and mistakes that you've made in the past, like you're not really going to be happy, and I don't think you're ever really going to be loving yourself that way. But when you're focusing on the here and now, like, okay, I didn't really like what I did back then, but what can I do now? That's important.
And even like we said, like it can go the other way around, where you live in the shadow of your past self, like, oh, I was so good back then. Well, you know what, like this is where you are now, and like you are where you are for a reason. And just like embrace that, you know, like every day, it sounds so cliche, but every day like brings like the possibility of something new. So yes, don't live in the past, y'all.
Don't live in the past. It's not worth it.
No, it is not. I attract wonderful people into my life. I personally do, because I mean look at Danielle.
Okay, I understand what this is trying to say. I always struggle with the whole thing of like attraction. Because I mean, okay, I do believe that you kind of, I don't know, like your vibe attracts your tribe kind of thing. Like I don't necessarily believe it, but I think the more that you put yourself out there, like in your like truest self or whatever, and like then you will attract people. But also, like if you're just sitting at home and doing nothing, you're not going to attract anyone. You have to actually go and like make friends, and you have to put yourself out there. So I think that's always my problem with like the law of attraction kind of thing. I mean, that's a whole different thing, because I don't fully understand it. But I've done some research. Someone asked me about it earlier on in the year, and to be honest, some of it I was like you reap what you sow, but that actually wasn't. It was more like a mind thing, which I don't necessarily buy into. But it's like, to what extent is it attracting versus like, to what extent is it just you going and doing those things, you know?
100%.
Because I don't think it'll ever just happen where you know, sitting in your house and like not actually talking to anyone. You're not going to attract anyone. No. You have to go and do it. And I think it's so important that, again, you are authentically yourself. Don't go and find people just to have people. No, exactly. And also don't find people based on what you want to be, if you know what I'm saying. So like, don't act the way that you think that you would like to be, rather act the way that you are right now, and then you will attract
like-minded
like-minded people.
Yes.
So now that we've discussed all the affirmations and the mantras, we can get into like the tips and tricks for loving yourself. And I just want to say, one of my problems probably with the self-love movement is that it's become a thing that's very much like revolved around consumerism.
It's
and
all
that kind of
things.
stuff. Exactly.
Like if you don't have things, then you can't love yourself.
It's like you have to buy this nice face cream, and have to buy a nice bath bomb, and you have to buy all these nice things, and then you can love yourself.
Bath bombs are expensive.
They are, flip.
Come on.
And the thing is, you should be able to show yourself love without spending money. So, and I mean, those are all important things. That's why I think, like, do what makes you happy kind of thing. But you don't need to. And I think probably my first tip for loving yourself is just to be aware of how you think about yourself. And I think one of the things that's really important, and this was one of the affirmations that we didn't read, is just knowing that you are worthy of love. And this is really difficult in our day and age, where you kind of taught, oh, you're not worthy of love. But, you know, just from a Christian perspective, the fact that, you know, God made you in his image, that Jesus died for you on the cross, like, if he thinks that you are worthy of love, then I promise that you are. And the problem often when you don't think that you're worthy of love is that you struggle to accept love. Because I think anytime anyone shows you any kind of love, it's like, well, I don't deserve that. Or
which is why so many people are in like abusive relationships. Exactly. You will let someone treat you however because you don't believe you deserve any better.
Exactly. We accept the love we think we deserve. That's from Perks of Being a Wallflower.
And then something that I think goes along with self-love is just self-acceptance. Just in the fact that, and this is something that I just had to learn, is that we are like innately paradoxical in that you can be a strong person and show like emotions and be vulnerable, and you can be like confident and like strong-willed and still like feel the need to ask for help and like seek advice, you know. And it's like these are not like binary issues,
Yeah.
as most issues are not.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay to be one thing and then also be the opposite
Yeah,
thing.
don't limit yourself.
No. So yeah, it's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay to want to be around people and also want to be alone.
Yeah, I have those feelings like all the time.
Even me.
Often simultaneously.
Yes.
And I'm like, what do I want? Okay, and I think the next one is just to keep yourself accountable. And we have already spoken a little bit about this. I think it's often easy, like when you just think in terms of self-love, to think, well, this is just how I am and I love myself, so I'm not going to do anything about it. But I think as humans, we should always just be thinking about, first of all, the opinions we hold, the way we treat people, the beliefs we hold, like always thinking about it. Not necessarily questioning yourself, but always like researching, talking to people, seeing what they believe. Why do people believe different things to you?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to almost love yourself, because in that way you can hold yourself accountable. And once again, like ask people, oh, what am I doing that's maybe not great? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And ask the right people.
The right people. Don't ask a stranger or someone
who particularly just doesn't like you. Yeah.
It is what it is. Some people aren't going to like you, and that's okay. That's another thing. Like, just accept that not everyone is going to like you.
Yes. I think as Christians, we feel like, I know I have felt like everyone has to like me.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I can love people and not have to like them or have to spend time with them, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Like, I think
we're not made to be like friends with every single person in the whole world.
That would be impossible.
It's too much. It's too much.
Yes. And then also just, I think it's so important that your self-love comes with the right intent. So it's, I love myself so that I can love others well. And we'll talk about that a little bit now. But the one thing, and I've seen this multiple times on social media, that it's like a quote, I don't know who said it. It said that self-love is the biggest middle finger. And it's like,
should it
you
be?
want to love yourself so that you can tell other people to F you. Like, it's a weird concept. It's like, I need to convince myself I'm so good so that other people can see that, like, I don't need them. Or it's a weird concept. It's like, what is the intent of like caring for yourself? And I think you just need to really examine that.
Yes.
And
don't use it as an excuse to be vain.
Yes.
And I think it's a weird thing to have to balance, you know, self-love versus also being vain. But once again, it comes down to intent.
Yes.
Okay. So I think another thing that I think is good is just to do things that make you feel good.
Yes.
And obviously don't do everything that makes you feel good, because some things are just not good for you.
No.
Like, don't do drugs. They might make you feel good in the moment, but they won't forever.
Amen. Please.
But like, you know, just when it comes to, you know, wearing clothes that you like, or watching series that you really enjoy, sometimes you literally just need to sit in front of like your computer or your TV and just watch an episode of something that makes you feel good.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's literally okay.
Sometimes for me it's like, because I've, as a theological graduate now, like I need to get into these really complicated, difficult passages. But it's actually okay if I want to read the Gospels for the millionth time. The Lord is still going to speak to me. It's still important.
Exactly.
Like the scripture. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I feel the need to like...
And I think it's important that you don't necessarily find your self-worth in those things. Like, your happiness isn't based only on those things. But it's fine to just, you know, show yourself some care, some love by just doing things that you enjoy.
Yes. And it's also like healthy habits, you know?
Healthy habits.
The sun, guys.
The sun is so important.
I have a pet peeve with the people in my office because they switch on the lights every day and they don't open their blinds.
No.
Yes. Unacceptable.
That's so sad. The sun, like, I cannot emphasize enough how much of a difference the sun makes.
The reason why I'm obsessed with the house that we're currently sitting at is because it's so light. Like,
it's very nice.
The sun is important.
In the past few weeks I've been writing exams, and they've been these freaking 3-day exams, and like I just don't go outside because I'm like, well, I have to work.
That's
you know, your brain literally never switches off.
Yes.
And so then I was like, I got to the 3rd day of my exam and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen the sun in years.
Yes. And like, again, like you are going to self-loathe if you are sitting in your pajamas all day and feel gross. Get in the shower.
Showering. It's so good.
This is like
Put on some nice perfume,
Yes,
like,
it's just like
it's the little things that
yes,
make a big difference.
100%. Read a nice book.
Wash your hair. Do it
Wash
right
your
now.
hair. Yes. Also, I was like thinking, like I'm a lover of sad music.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are in a particularly like really like dark kind of space,
Mm-hmm.
rather just
Listen to
find
some
uplifting
happy
music.
Yes,
It doesn't have to be like the song happy, but like happier songs.
Yeah, good vibes.
Yes, good vibes. I'm sure Spotify has a playlist with that title.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was your turn. Or my turn?
Yes.
No,
I don't
you
know.
go,
It's
you
all
go.
the turns.
You go.
It's
Yeah,
all the turns.
It is.
Other tips for loving yourself.
Must I?
Yes,
must I
you go.
Okay. Take a break.
Oh, come on, somebody. Yes.
Like, for real. And I think this also just ties in a little bit with just learning to say no.
Yes.
Because we feel like we always just have to be busy. You know, we
Yes.
find in our wonderful capitalist kind of society, it's, you
Our
know, you always got to
worth is
be
in
on
our
the hustle.
productivity.
Yeah, got to be productive. And you just have to be out and about, meeting all the people, doing all the things.
Yes.
And you don't need to be.
No.
Like, sometimes you just want to lie in your bed for a little bit. And you're allowed to. You're allowed to just sit on the couch for a little bit and not do anything.
Yes.
And when I say take a break as well, like, I think take an active break is good.
Yes.
Like, not like taking a break and then kind of just like, you know, looking at your phone and like putting all your mental energy in,
Into
I don't know,
stressful things.
into stressful
Yes.
things. Don't do that. That's not a nice break for you.
Yes.
Like, and also, you know, do things that make you happy on your little break.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you don't need to be busy all the time. That is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to.
Mm-mm.
And that is, like, I will note that's like a privileged way of thinking. Like, some people really don't have the privilege to be able to just take a break. And
Yes.
that's, like, once again, the really unfortunate thing about living in our kind of society. But if you can, just like find something to take your mind off things.
Yes.
Because your mind can't handle
All the
everything. It
things.
really can't.
Yeah. And then I think if one of the reasons why I think we dislike ourselves as much as we do is because of the fact that we compare ourselves to everyone.
Mm.
It's a very, very cliche, but like social media is legitimately a highlight reel.
Yes, it is.
So if you find yourself going on social media and you're like, oh, I wish I could be there, or oh, that girl's so much prettier than me, or oh, like, you know what I mean? When you
Yes.
find yourself hating yourself and hating your life based on the things that you're seeing,
Mm.
get rid of social media.
Get rid of it.
Honestly.
Unfollow people
Take a
who make
break.
you feel weird.
Exactly.
Like, and I think this is also another weird lie that's been just told to us, is that you just have to follow all of your friends and you have to be friends with all of your friends on Facebook and that
Yes.
kind of thing. And you don't need to be.
No.
I think just learning, like, how people make you feel is important. I'm not saying like cut people out of your life necessarily.
Yes.
I think that's probably one of the more, like, in quotation marks, toxic things
Yes.
that the self-love movement has taught us.
Yes.
You don't need to cut people out of your life, but you also don't need to spend time with people.
Exactly.
Like, you
Like
can be
change-
there. You can be
yes.
there for someone, but you don't need to like follow their every move on social media, because
No.
some people just
Yes.
generally don't mesh well with you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed. So it's
Yeah.
like change the mind from like change the mindset of like, in order to love myself, I need to get rid of toxic people. Change it to, in order to better love myself, I'm going to spend time with people who I've become aware of. Like, I know that they are uplifting and that they
Yes.
are a good influence and that, you know, they
Yeah.
stand for similar things or
Yes.
whatever the case may be.
Yes,
So, yes.
indeed. And I think I've mostly spoken about all my tips. How do we balance being a Christian with self-love?
Yes. So I think for me, when you give your life to the Lord, it's when you realize the fact that, wow, I'm sinful and I actually need a savior. And so there is a level of repentance and humility that comes with being a
Yes.
Christian. And without it, you can't really be a Christian. If you don't feel like you need God, like you,
There's no point.
yes.
Yeah.
And we are called to love others and like put the needs of others above ourselves. And the two most important commandments is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
And we get the whole, I need to love God and I need to love others. But I think in that verse it says, love your neighbor as
you love
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
So it's again recognizing that you have value.
Yes.
And you cannot love your neighbor. You cannot actively love your neighbor if you aren't loving yourself.
Exactly.
And we look at the life of Jesus. We look at the life of Jesus, and like he withdrew from people.
Yes.
Like he looked after himself.
He did.
So that he could disciple others and be
exactly
like the light of the world.
Exactly. And I think this is one thing that we haven't spoken about yet, but just your spiritual welfare. That's a form of self-love, just taking care of yourself in that way.
Me too.
And it's probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. You know, reading your Bible, spending time in prayer. If you're not a Christian, well, I'm sure you have your own methods of doing that. But like, that's exactly what Jesus did, though. I mean, he would go and pray for like hours on end. Yes. And that was one of his ways of so-called like self-love.
Self-care in self-love,
yes. But it's not a selfish love. It's a selfless love.
Yeah. And like, again, like this, we'll always say this is not a Christian podcast, but we are Christians. And I will say, like, if you're struggling to love yourself, then like I would highly recommend like just like exploring and like being open, because I think the reason why I am as comfortable in my own skin as I am now versus before I was a Christian is because I recognize that I've been created by God.
Yeah, and that you have worth.
I have worth, exactly. So I don't know. I think it's really hard to love yourself if you don't recognize that.
Your worth.
Yeah. Yes. So just know, guys, that whether you are Christian or not, you were created in the image of God, and He loves you. And so, who are you not to love yourself?
Amen. Who are you not to love yourself?
That was a quote. Sorry, Miss God.
Yes. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say.
Me too.
Basically, just
love yourself.
Love yourself.
We're gonna name that episode that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, like, don't waste your energy on things that like I'm not gonna say benefit you, but things that, you know, like suck up your energy more than actually
they drain you.
Yeah. You know, we don't want that. No one wants that.
No.
And yeah, just learn to take time apart, spend time with yourself, know what you like. It's good to know what you like, because then you can love yourself in a better way, and also love yourself so that you can love others better.
For real.
It really, really is
for
linked
real.
to
You
it.
can't give anything to anyone if you have nothing to give, because you are done and drained.
Amen.
This is officially
our last
the
episode.
End of In Other Words,
season 1.
Yes.
Don't worry, we will be back probably in a month or so.
Yeah, we haven't yet decided. I think we're gonna have to wait until every single person has listened to every single episode.
We'll be watching,
so it's literally all on you, y'all.
We'll be posting on Instagram though.
Please follow us on Instagram at In Other Words _podcast for all the fun content.
Indeed. And yeah, don't be shy to interact with us. No. We do not bite. We actually love interactions.
Yes, because we love people.
Exactly.
Because we are doing our best to love ourselves too.
Amen. So like when we put polls on our story or questions on our story, answer them. It's fun.
Yes.
It's really chilled. And we love seeing what you guys
have to say.
I feel like when I say you guys, I really feel like an influencer.
You guys have been asking me about my skincare routine.
Exactly. Anyway, well, that's us. See you in about a month. Who knows?
We will miss you.
Indeed.
But we will not be gone forever.
No, and we'll be active on Instagram once again.
Follow us.
Indeed.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.